Well, hello kids. Today we are starting with direct and indirect speech. It's very important. It's going to be one of the most important aspects of this exam as well as grammar in general. So it's very important that you learn with full undivided attention. Right? Let's get started. Without further ado, let's get started with the chapter. So what is speech? So what is direct speech? We are beginning. When exact words that are spoken by the speaker are used to report what he or she has said, right? Exact words and used to report what they said. Then it's called as direct speech, right? For example, if a teacher says, sit down and don't make noise. And if I'm putting it the sentence as it is, the teacher said, sit down and don't make noise. This is a direct speech, right? What's indirect, if you ask me? So while writing, we'll come to that. While writing direct speech, make sure that you always enclose it with quotation marks, right? So whatever is being said, that goes inside the quotation mark. So you know what speech is, right? Whenever we are reporting something that has been said by someone, that is speech. And in direct speech, we are literally putting the exact same thing that they said, and we are reporting it forward. We are writing it in that form. So we'll always use quotation marks when writing direct speech, right? There are some rules for writing direct speech. Let's have a look at them. The first is the reporting verb is followed by a comma. When I said she said, there will always be a comma after said. The words of the speaker are written in inverted commas, like I said. This is where the words of the speaker come in, right? And the first word within the inverted comma begins with a capital letter. So this W that you're looking at, it becomes capital, right? So you share words. And this is a proper direct speech sentence. As simple as that. Then what is the case with indirect speech, you might ask? Let's get there. Indirect speech. When we use our own words to report what a person has said, right? So if I heard of something from someone and I'm telling it to somebody else, I'm using my own words to tell it because I do not remember what exactly they said. So then we use indirect speech. And now as we are reporting what has already happened, it's also called reported speech, right? For example, my teacher told me that she will be on leave tomorrow. She might have said, Ashutosh, I'll be on leave tomorrow. She might have said, guys, I'll be on leave tomorrow. Children, I'll be on leave tomorrow. Children, I'll not be coming tomorrow. So all of these could have been said, but that is direct speech. Indirect speech, when I'm reporting it, I said, my teacher told me that she will be on leave tomorrow. This is indirect speech. In documents, newspapers, or other reports, indirect speech is used more often than direct speech because most of it is, in a form that cannot be directly recorded and imprinted. Yes. So we use indirect speech in documents, newspapers, or other such reports. This speech is always used to talk about the past. If I'm writing something in a direct speech, it has already happened. The thing has already been said, right? So always remember that. And what are the rules for writing in direct speech? Again, remember how in front of indirect speech, when you're using the reporting verb, you follow it with a comma, right? Here, the comma is replaced by that, and the inverted commas are also gone, right? So if I had written, she said words, remember? This was our sentence there. So, when I change it to indirect speech, I'll do she said that. And again, the capital W will go away because it's now a full sentence. Words. As simple as that. Right? Clear. Moving on. The reported speech is changed in such a way that its pronouns and tenses are suitable for the reporter. Always make sure that whatever tense, whatever pronouns your sentence is following, the speech will also follow the same. And now we move on to the difficult part, that is changing direct speech to indirect speech. So what all are the things that you need to take care when you are changing direct speech to indirect speech? First, the change of tense. If the reporting verb is in present or future tense, then the tense of the verb in indirect speech is not changed at all. Never change the tense of the indirect speech if it is in present or future. So that takes care of more than half your problems, right? He says, I'm going to school. He says that he is going to school. As simple as that. All right. So when the tense is future or present, the verb will not change. He will say, I'm studying. He will say that he. Again, I cannot use I here, right? So is going to change. But he will say that he is studying. So you see that comes in here instead of this, right? He says, I'm studying. He'll say that he is studying. Moving on. If the reporting verb is in past tense, this was present and future, right? But what if the reporting verb is in past tense? Then the tense of the verb in the reported speech is changed to a corresponding form of the past tense. Like simple past becomes simple past. He said, I play football. He said that he played football. Said, played. He said, I'm writing an essay. He said that he was writing an essay. See, it's continuing here. I'm writing an essay. Simple past becomes simple past. Present continuous becomes past continuous. He said, I'm writing an essay. He said that he was writing an essay. Present perfect becomes past perfect. He said I have written an essay. He said that he had written. Whenever I use had, it becomes perfect, right? So present perfect becomes past perfect. He said that he had written an essay. Simple past becomes past perfect. He said I wrote a letter, right? Direct speech. He said that he had written a letter. Indirect, right? Reported. Past continuous becomes past perfect continuous. He said, I was writing an essay, for example. He said that he had been writing an essay. Very important to remember this. Past continuous becomes past perfect continuous. He said that he had been writing an essay. Past perfect remains unchanged. He said the storm has damaged the roads. He said that the storm had damaged the roads. Simple as that. Past perfect continuous remains unchanged. He said Anna had been dancing. He said that Anna had been dancing. No changes. We always remember will changes to would, shall to should or would, can to could, and may to might. So these changes happen from direct to indirect. This will always happen. So he said, I will write a letter. He said that he would write a letter. I shall write a letter. He should write a letter. I can write a letter. He could write a letter. I may write a letter. He might write a letter. Right? So these four will always change in these situations. Okay. Moving on. We have changes of pronouns and possessive adjectives. What are possessive adjectives? We have learned in adjectives. Adjectives that showcase possession are known as possessive activities. Right? uh, and some of them are common with pronouns as well, so we'll be doing both of them in the same category. The first and the second person pronouns and possessive adjectives are changed to the person of the subject of the reporting verb. Like I said, I wanted to go to the summer camp. I said that, this is pretty simple, that you always have to do. I said that I wanted. When I have already used said here, the want inside the bracket becomes wanted. It changes, simple past. I said that I wanted to go to the summer camp. You said I am unwell today. You said that you are unwell that day, right? She said I was studying. She said that she had been studying, right? Change of punctuation, if you look at it, punctuation also changes according to whatever the word we are, whatever the speech we are changing. How whenever we change direct to indirect, the punctuation will definitely change. We use inverted commas in direct speech to mark the exact words used by the speaker. In this case, my brother said I'm going to the exhibition. These are the exact words that he used. My brother said that he was going to the exhibition. When I converted to indirect speech, I use said, that, I becomes he, am becomes was, and it remains the same going to the exhibition, right? So in case of punctuation, the inverted commas, they disappear. The introductory verb in direct speech is followed by a comma. In the indirect comma, in indirect speech, the comma is removed, as you can see in here as well as here. Karim said that he had a new computer. Karim said, I have a new computer. You see a comma here. The comma gets removed. Karim said that he had a new computer. And the third change that becomes is in direct speech, The ending punctuation mark of the quoted words should always be inside the inverted commas, which is not the case in these because you're already removing the comma, right? So it does not count here. But when you're writing in direct speech, always remember whether it's an exclamation or a question mark or a full stop, it should always be inside the inverted comma, right? It cannot be outside it. So when you're using this is wrong. Never do that, right? So yeah, can I go to the book fair? Question mark and then close the inverted comma, right? So these are the change of punctuation. Moving on, the change of time and place indicators. So when we change the tense of the verb while converting from direct to indirect, words that denote time and place, like if you saw today became that day, they will also change accordingly. So in direct speech, when we use now, in indirect speech, it becomes then or at that time. Today becomes that day. Tonight becomes that night. I had gone to the movie tonight. He said he had gone to the movie that night. Right? I will go to the movie tomorrow. He said that he will go to the movie the next day. So tomorrow becomes the next day or the day after. Yesterday becomes the previous day or the day before. Ago becomes before. I told you to come to my house 3 hours ago. He said that he said that he had told him to come to his house 3 hours before, right? So when ago changes to before, here changes to there, this changes to that. So always remember all these changes will always and every time these will be used whenever you are using time and place indicators. All right, moving on. What do we do when we are changing assertive sentences in direct speech to indirect speech? So you see, if the reporting verb in the direct speech has an indirect object, the word say is changed to told, right? The comma following the reporting verb is replaced by the conjunction that. The tense, pronouns, time, and place indicators all change. And all of these rules we have discussed previously. So, when for example, the king said to his minister, "This is a trick." The king is the subject, said is the verb, minister is the object, and this is the statement. This is the speech, which is direct. So what do? Simply we let the subject be as it is and the verb as well as the object. Once we reach the speech part, we remove the comma, insert that. This becomes that, as you have already learnt. Is becomes was, and a trick, and the inverted commas disappear. So the king said to his minister that was a trick. This is how you change assertive sentences, right? From direct speech to indirect speech. Now, if you have to change interrogative sentences from direct to indirect, what are interrogative sentences? Sentences that end in questions, right? So yeah, the reporting verb in direct speech is replaced by the words ask or inquire, right? Interrogative sentence in direct speech are changed into assertive sentences in the indirect speech. We'll see when you'll realize. So see, whenever the questions that are being asked, whenever sentence that end with questions being asked, when we are reporting it in indirect speech, then it will become an assertion. Let's see how. If the question in the direct speech begins with a WH question, what, who, whom, why, which, right? Words that begin with WH and automatically go on to become questions in a sentence. So if the question in direct speech begins with a WH question, no conjunction is used in indirect speech, right? Why did you cheat? I asked him why did he cheat. Simple. I asked why did you cheat? I asked him why did he cheat, right? You becomes he. So yeah, no conjunction is used. But if the question in the direct speech begins with a verb, do you have an extra pen? Have you seen Ram? Will you play with me? Right? So if it begins with a verb, the conjunction if is used in indirect speech. Alright? The tense, pronouns, time, and place indicators, they all change according to the rules discussed previously. We know that. But yeah, apart from that, when I said, you see, Harish said, comma, yahan tak we have okay, like so far so good. But when we say why is Rama crying, so why is a WH word. So here we will not use any conjunction. We will simply say Harish asked why Rama was crying. But when Rahul said, do you have an extra pencil? So do is a verb. The question begins with a verb. This interrogative sentence begins with a verb. So then it becomes Rahul inquired if I had an extra pencil. Right? Rahul asked if I had an extra pencil. Rahul wanted to know whether I had an extra pencil. So yeah, so if is used in these cases. Moving on. Now, how do you change imperative sentence in direct speech to indirect? See, the reporting verb in direct speech is changed to a verb expressing a command, advice, or request. These are imperative sentences, right? The verb of the quoted words is changed into an infinitive, all right? And the tense, pronouns, time, and place indicators change according to the rules we have already discussed, right? So, for example, be quiet, said the principal. The principal commanded them to be quiet. This is a command, right? It's an order. So you can also be the principal ordered them to be quiet. The principal commanded them to be quiet. He said to Vidya, lend me your book, please. He requested Vidya to lend him. You see, he is here. So we know me is a plural. Me is a male, right? Masculine word. So he said to Vidya, lend me a book, please. He requested. As please is used, it will always be a request. Alright. So he said to Vidya, lend me a book, please. He requested Vidya to lend him her book. Your becomes her. The monitor said to the students, do not lean on the wall. See, this is the command, this is an order, but it's a negative command, right? So this is forbidden. You can use forbid here for forbidden. Basically, this is forbidden, so you can use forbade. The monitor forbade the students to lean on the wall, right? This is how you change imperative sentences in direct speech to indirect speech. So, what are some important things that you have to remember? While changing an imperative sentence from direct to indirect speech, some reporting verbs are commonly used, right? When using words for command, right? Like the teacher said to the students, keep quiet and sit down. The teacher commanded the students to keep quiet and sit down, or the teacher ordered the students to keep quiet and sit down. The teacher commanded. The teacher bid the students to keep quiet and sit down. The teacher told the students, right? It can if it is an advice. See, Ram advised Sham to proceed carefully, so you can use advice as usual. You can also use urge. Ram urged Sham to proceed with caution. Request, you can always use request. Ram requested Sham to proceed with caution. Ram asked Sham to proceed with caution. Ram pleaded with Sham to proceed with caution. If it's a proposal, suggestion or proposal both can be used. So I suggest that you do not do it. I propose that we go through with it. Right? So it's a proposal, we can do this. Prohibition. For sentences that imply prohibition, we can use forbid and prohibit. So the principal prohibited us from venturing out at night. The teacher forbade us from playing in the class. Right? So this is how all these words can be used for these imperative sentences. A very important thing that you have to always remember whenever you are converting speech is that universal truths. For universal truths, the tense of the quoted words do not change. Never have, never will. So Galileo said the earth moves around the sun. If this was a normal sentence, we would have used Galileo said that the earth moved around the sun, but we will not do that. We will not change the tense. It will simply remain Galileo said that the earth moves around the sun. Right? It's very important to remember this. Let's just quickly go through it. It's not that long a chapter. It's a short one. There are just 3-4 rules that you have to remember. So direct speech is when exact words that are spoken by the speaker are used to report what he or she has said, and we use the direct speech for that. For example, the teacher said, sit down and don't make noise. The 3 rules for writing direct speech are the reporting verb. The verb is immediately followed by a comma, which is then followed by the inverted commas in which the speech, the words of the speaker is written. She said, sit down, right? And the first word within the inverted comma, it begins with a capital letter. The only 3 rules for writing direct speech. What is indirect speech? Whenever we use our own words to report what a person has already said, we use indirect speech for that. So that is why this speech is also known as reported speech. So when we are using it, so for example, my teacher told me that she'll be on leave tomorrow. This is used in documents, newspapers, and other reports. And only three rules for writing indirect speech as well. The reporting word is not followed by the comma. It is the comma is replaced with the word that. She said that. Also, the inverted commas go away. It is replaced by the normal sentence, and the reported speech is changed in such a way that it affects the pronouns and tenses so that they become suitable for the reporter. So if the if the reporter is addressing it in a manner, it will automatically accommodate the rest of the sentence, will automatically accommodate itself to suit it. And most importantly, indirect speech is always written in past tense, right? So if the reporting verb in the present or future tense, the tense of verb in the speech is not going to change, right? So make sure that you remember. Will changes to would, shall changes to should or would, can changes to could, may changes to might. So remember that as well. And yeah, so just go through it again. If you have any problems, we'll do the exercises, then you'll get to know it better. But yeah, if you remember the three rules of writing a direct speech and the three rules of writing an indirect speech, this chapter should not give you much problems. As you saw quickly, we have completed it, and let's move on to assignments. I'll see you there. Thank you.